ever I love thee, my Jesus is now. Last stanza. In mansions of glory and endless delight, I'll ever adore thee in heaven so bright. In mansions of glory and endless delight,
bright, sing with a glittering on my brow. If ever I love thee, my Jesus, 'tis now. Shall we pray? Father, we thank you this afternoon. We are giving you all the praise that we have the privilege to study. We commit the facilitator into your hands. We ask that lead and guide her so that we'll get the benefit of the content she's presenting to us. We ask that be with us throughout, for we pray in Jesus' name. Amen.
Good afternoon, everyone, and happy Sabbath. Those at the back, are we joining or we are, if we can all move forward so that we can have a discussion together? This is, I'm facilitating, so I'm just leading group to do discussions. All right, so we have seen that Family Week has already started, and today we have enjoyed the various presentations that have gone on so far. In the morning, we went through the presentation on how we will be able to live with people with different orientations on gender, sexual orientation. So we looked at sexuality and LGBTQ plus, and we saw the sketch that went on in the morning. This afternoon we are looking at how to support families having children with neurodivergent conditions. When we talk about neurodivergent conditions, we are dealing with those having conditions that are basically within the mind. Let me put it simply, psychological conditions, conditions that are seen in behaviors. And this is a very typical challenge that families are experiencing. If you look at this year's Family Week, we realize that they have selected topics that are very sensitive. Also, we can say special topics so that we can support individuals within and outside the church. That is the ultimate goal, so that those who are having challenges one way or the other will feel that they have people who are there for them. And that is what we are going to talk about. If you look at the scriptures that have been selected, I must recognize that this was developed by the Family Ministries Department of the General Conference, led by Willie and Elaine Olivers. They are the people who helped to combine all the various information together. They have a lot of resource persons who helped to put the documents. So we have the privilege as a church to look at these various topics. But for this particular one, it was written by Willie and Elaine Oliver. They wrote it. In the morning, the LGBTQ plus, they also put them together. We have other topics that within the week, and the next Sabbath we are going to look at. But today we are looking at neurodivergent children and their families, how we can support them. We have some Bible texts we want to consider. Jeremiah chapter 1 verse 5 says, "Before I formed you in the womb, I knew you. Before you were born, I set you apart. I appointed you as a prophet to the nations." And so, before even our parents decided to bring us to the world, we were known by our Creator. So, every single individual who is living is recognized by the Creator, whether the person has a normal way of life or some abnormal way of life, the person is recognized. And once we are recognized by our Creator, it means that we are important to Him. If you look at Psalm 139, "For you created my innermost being. You knit me together in my mother's womb. I praise you because I am fearfully and wonderfully made." Amen. We don't say we are wonderfully and fearfully made only when we have all that it takes to be a complete person. We don't say that alone. It means that those who have some challenges, health challenges, whether physical, spiritual, psychological, they are all fearfully and wonderfully made. Only that we need to understand them and be able to support them. That is the basic principle here. In fact, if you look at the week, there are people who have stopped going to church because they don't get the support. When they come to church with their children, comments people may make, some things that people will tell them as if they don't even know how to raise their own children. So they will stop bringing their children to church. Matthew 25, 41 to 46 is a very familiar text. And we know that it is one of the commonly used scriptures. That then he will also say to those on the left hand, "Depart from me, you cursed, into the everlasting fire prepared for the devil and his angels. For I was hungry, and you gave me no food. I was thirsty, and you gave me no drink. I was a stranger, and you did not take me in. Naked, and you did not clothe me. Sick and in prison, and you did not visit me." And so we know what follows. When did you fall sick? When did you become hungry? When, like that. If we have discriminatory attitude towards people, we don't know whom we may be dealing with. And so as a church, we need to realize that having these individuals amongst us and their families are very important. They are very special in the sight of the Lord, because we have just read that we are fearfully and wonderfully made. We have the neurodivergent encompasses range of conditions that are put together. We say that syndrome. There are a lot, so we'll talk about a few of them. The American Psychiatric Association has identified neurodiversity as encompassing range of conditions such as ADHD, which we call Attention Deficit Hyperactivity Disorder. We'll look at it very closely in a short while. Autism, dysplasia, and more. Some of them are put together, and we say that they are a spectrum of disorder. They experience different behaviors. If you look at the neurodivergent conditions, They are more of behavioral. It is very difficult to say that I'm looking at your face and saying you have the condition. Some of them you cannot physically identify them. They are more of behavioral, others call it developmental, whilst they are growing. But as early as possible in some children, by the age 3, then you can see it. As we go, we see that some behavior that they put up, some may grow into adolescent with it. Some are able to overcome it in their childhood, and so they don't grow with it. But most of the time, they grow into adolescence with it. So we have adults who also have the conditions. The families of neurodivergent children face unique daily challenges, and it is the faith community, like all of us, we are going to support them. I did a research and published it last year amongst children with autism. And there is an autistic home around the Oyarifa area. That's where we collected data. 12 individuals. We had 10 females and 2 males. In fact, the study was about families and how they are able to cope with their children. And most of them had their biggest challenge from the church, where the church members started with so many other things. So they will tell you, may have even stopped going to church. When you go, they will tell you, control your child. Do this, your child is disturbing, your child is this. In fact, one of the statements that occurred continuously is what I put on the caption. People keep staring at me for no reason. That is the title of the study. It was a qualitative study, so the title, I picked it from the continuous occurrence of the statement. People keep looking at you in public for no reason. Experiences of parents with children suffering from autism. And they have a lot of experiences, apart from financial and all of that. But the social aspect, when we embrace them and we speak very nice to them, they get happiness to get closer. In fact, the church has the transformative potential to support the family. In fact, we emphasize the importance of creating a welcoming environment, fostering acceptance and promoting understanding. If you do not understand them, you make any comments. And the comments that we make are very, very, very derogatory, and they don't want to even have it. You know, some people will also not physically or face-to-face come and tell you, but they will gossip behind you. They go behind you, and when you hear it, you feel so bad. Oh, why didn't the person even ask me? If you look at the neurodivergent, it's a multifaceted concept. And I've talked about the various neurological conditions that deviate them from the neurotypical or the typical neurological functioning. What is happening is that I'll be conscious of things around me. So when I want to do something, I know that, oh, here is public. So let me do it somewhere. But for them, they will not be able to recognize that. They cannot control the behavior. They want to, if they are laughing, they will laugh so loud and wouldn't care if the room is quiet or everybody is looking on. They will be making some mental health will say silly giggles. They will give some the way they will behave, you would want to turn and look at them again. And the next thing is, who is this person? And the attention, the look, where all will turn. At the time that the room is quiet, the preacher is there, that's when they also make their noise. And they will even be shouting. These are things that we need to educate ourselves. To be able to help them, we need education. We need to know how the condition is. That's the key thing to living or supporting somebody with a particular situation. If you don't know much about it, you start doubting what is going on. Within this spectrum, I've talked about the attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, autism spectrum disorder. We have the dysplasia and then the others. We have the Tourette syndrome. Others have the sensory processing disorder and more. But the very common ones are the autism spectrum disorder and then the attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. These are very common. Recently, the data has said that Tourette syndrome has also joined. A lot of people we are going to take them one after the other to look at how they look like. So this diversity highlights complexity of the conditions I've talked about. Individuals within this spectrum may have many strengths, challenges, and unique perspectives. Some of them have strong things that they can do better when they have the strengths for that, and then the weaknesses. So if they are to play football, they play very well. Basketball, they will play very well. In fact, that is all they will concentrate to do. That is the strengths we talk about. Others who have the weakness, they will do it like that. And so, this afternoon, we want to just get the gist of it, then we set the platform for us to discuss how we will help them. That's the key thing. So when you talk about autism, I mentioned that autism is a developmental disorder, and it is a situation that affects the person's communication, how the person communicates with and relate to others. It also affects how they make sense of the world around them. So the basic thing is about behavioral, the behavior they put up. And when we say it is a spectrum, it means that there are a lot of things that will occur. In some children, you wouldn't see them. In others, they may portray almost all of them. So, as I indicated, there is delayed learning development in some of them. They learn, but it takes time. Others have difficulty communicating in autism. Some of them may have attachment to unusual interests, some things that you think should not be attractive to them. They become so much attracted and they want to concentrate on that. Some have difficulty understanding emotions. So some would just, they don't see when you are sad. When you are sad, they are happy. So they are just laughing. And so why is the person not seeing what I'm seeing? We also have others having repetitive movements. And so you see them repeating certain movements and behavior. Others are oversensitive to light, sound, and other things. So one of the parents who I spoke with said that we will be fine, but the moment singing of praises begin, then he will start shouting. So when we go to church, we don't enjoy, they are Pentecost, so we don't enjoy the praises service, because the moment the sound starts, then he wants to shout beyond the sound that he's hearing. He wants his voice to be heard beyond what is going on. Others have problems with sleep. They don't sleep at all. And the parents may even bring them to the hospital for them to be managed, to be able to sleep, and so forth. In fact, we also look at the attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. For them, they have trouble paying attention. So you cannot have their attention at all. You cannot sit them here for even 1 minute. They would not. That is the problem. So they have problem controlling impulsive behaviors. So they act without thinking about what has happened or what will happen. They are overly active. In fact, they are energetic, very high in energy. And you even feel tired for them. They usually are able to improve as they age, but not all of them, just like we have with them. And it's a very common neurodevelopmental disorder of childhood. But between 3 to 4 years, that is when you see the attention. So sometimes their teachers in the kindergarten or any of the, they will tell you that obane die oba ontena sekra o kira dia no ne nam o ka so ontena se omua. You see, that is what some of them, but those who have gone through child psychology, they are able to. So some parents with the attention deficit, is even teachers who draw their attention. Those who have gone through child psychology, they are able to tell that your child does not pay much attention in class, and I think that you may have to see a psychologist. And so they get to know. And usually, because they are our children, realize that if you don't pay particular attention, you might not be able to see that there's something wrong with the child. And unfortunate aspect is that most of the time, it is the first child who suffers it. The first child. All the children you may give birth to may suffer it, but it's common amongst first children. And so you have never given birth before, so you don't even see if there's something wrong, because it's my first child. And the child is just active. He's just somebody who is active. And if you have a family member who is also very active, where do the sane wafa, or sane papa, like that, before you notice, it's too much. If you look at the ADHA, they daydream a lot, they forget or they lose things a lot. That's why they will send their bottles to school. You may give them different colors, different sizes, it will not come. In fact, they can come home naked. Their shoes, their dresses, they've lost them and they don't actually see anything. Where they sit to do it, because they don't have attention, they leave the ball there, they've gone. They can't even recall where the ball was left or their bags were left. And they talk too much. In fact, they make careless mistakes or take unnecessary risk. They have hard time resisting temptations, especially those who are growing. And they have trouble taking turns or have difficulty getting along with people. If you are in a queue, in a line, as you want to train any child, they want to overtake them. They are in a hurry. I mean, they don't have time for what you... They are the people who can even go to the board and start writing on the board that the teacher is delaying them. And if you don't know, you think that it's the child is putting up a behavior that is above yours. There is no particular cause for this disorder, but recent studies have shown that genetic Sorry for that. So what happens is that we cannot pinpoint a particular cause. In fact, the cause is not known. But recent studies have shown that genetics can be a major factor. Genetics may play a role. I'm talking about, when we talk about genetics, we are looking at conditions that are transmitted from parents to their children, from parents to offsprings. We also have, in addition to genetics, brain injury. So we may give, that's why sometimes by age 3 or 4 before you may notice. Some people during delivery, the head of the baby might have hit the delivery table without the midwife or the mother recognizing it. This is a very fragile being who has just been born. That's why we always educate women that the moment you realize that you are within your period of getting the baby out, delivery, get closer. Don't play. Some of them, we have heard people delivering in taxis and others. We have also seen people even getting to the hospital premises, the baby drops on the floor. So the head hitting there can be something. Sometimes we leave our babies with people who injure them and they will quietly bring them to us. They won't come and tell you that akolani ti aboho, because you might not even see any physical thing on the head, swelling or anything. But because there can be head injury, brain damage, and that particular part of the brain that gets damaged, the person grows with it, and that will lead to that. And so brain injury has been seen to be after genetics is the next. And these are some of the ways by which babies or children can become injured. We may see another child pushing this child and then he hits there. You know, some children are very aggressive. They are not having this disorder, but they are aggressive by nature of the way they are brought up. They can hit every child around them and then may cause any damage. Exposure to environmental risk such as lead. You have lead found in so many other, but the common one is in this road construction. The black thing, is it the coal tar? A high level of lead is found in it. And it is also a cancer-causing agent. We call it carcinogenic. And some other farm, what do you call them? The fertilizers and those products, they are like that. And then tobacco and alcohol during pregnancy. And we must say that we thank God that Seventh-day Adventist pregnant women will not drink and will not cause their fetuses to drink. You see a picture of a pregnant woman having a glass sitting inside the uterus. It's dramatized, but it shows, because alcohol and cigarette smoking have been identified as very high risk factors for pregnant women. You are not smoking, but somebody else is smoking, what we call the second-hand smoking. So because I'm pregnant and I cherish to have a normal baby, I want to get away from that environment. We don't have that much problem here, but elsewhere in the Western world, they don't care. They smoke, and wherever it is, you can see it. And then we have, the literature says premature delivery or low birth weight, which you might question what is the link with it. But that is what the literature is saying. It can be one of them. Then the next condition we want to look at is the dyslexia or the dyslexia. Is a learning difficulty. Here, the primary problem is the skills of learning. They cannot speak. They cannot pronounce. They are growing, but they have not started talking. And then people start becoming, in fact, they cannot do spelling. You know, you have gotten to the age in school where you can do simple spelling. Simple, you know, C-A-T, cat. You know, what do you call it? G for girls, C for cats. And then the other one is A for apple. And then somebody said, why do you say apple? Do we have apple in Ghana? So even what we relate it to is difficult. So A should be what for what? Anchor. So, you know, they learn those things that are familiar around them. So that's why they say A for apple. And we are sitting in Ghana here, we are doing A for apple. Meanwhile, apple is not familiar anyway. So these are things we have to. So the features are difficulty in phonology. phonological awareness. They cannot pronounce. In fact, verbal memory and verbal processing speed become their problem. And so that stage, the mother, remember I mentioned that usually the firstborn. And so you may not even know there's a problem with it because you have not given, unless you are somebody who has seen babies, you have seen your friends or other, you are there and somebody will come and ask you, is it normal? My child is around this age, but he can't still say anything. Then you tell them, oh, then try and see a doctor. Oh, somebody will take your time. Oh, kasa ebeba, tobo ebeba. And then the child is growing, but you have not seen anything. So dyslexia occurs across the range of intellectual abilities, and that is the challenge. So if you look at it, there's difficulty reading and writing in these children, but some of them, those who are able to learn the word, they develop very great long-term memory. So when you mention the word to them and it sinks, they will never forget. That is one thing with them. And they have difficulty remembering sound. And the sounds are part of how to be able to pronounce. So they have that problem. Communication skills become a problem. Difficulty putting details or difficulty putting things in order. If you give them the puzzles or the alphabets, because they have learned it, they should be able to arrange it. The A, the B, the up to Z, but they cannot do it. Because they can't even speak alone, have the skills to. They have problem-solving difficulty. And they have difficulty processing sound. That is why they are unable to speak. That is the challenge. So that's their main problem. Then we also have what we call the Tourette syndrome. For them, it starts very early in childhood, and it involves uncontrollable, repetitive movements. Some of them, the hand will be like that. They will do that. They sit there, they do the head like this. Whatever you do, give them that. It is not their control. It is coming from the brain. So they keep repeating that behavior. They can repeat a particular word, and that is all that is they are going to say. They can also continuously blink the eye like that, and that is what they are doing. Usually psychological therapies are the main one. We are looking at neurodivergent disorders, and we are looking at the ones that people are able to grow with it. We didn't touch on mental illnesses. No, we didn't go there. We didn't touch on mental disorders. We are looking at the neurodivergent children. And so these are the spectrum of some of the common conditions that we have. So when you see these children, those are the things. So for them, they combine almost all that the autistic attention deficit children exhibit. So they have a lot of them. It's a syndrome. They have panic disorders. Anything that they are afraid. In fact, they cannot be left alone. They have those. They have memory deficits, and they repeat particular behavior. If they are washing their hands, they will wash it frequent intervals. And then you ask them, why are you washing your hands like that? My hands are dirty. Oh, but you just finished washing your hands. They will repeat it again. That's what we call obsessive compulsive disorder. They repeat certain things. They can sweep their room the whole day. They are repeating that particular behavior and so forth. And we have mood swings amongst them. They are looking so bright, so nice, and the next time they have switched, and they are very difficult to even speak with. They have learning disabilities, verbal, perceptual motor disorders. They don't see things well, so they cannot even identify them properly. They have other dysfunctions memory, sensory dysfunction, and they also have the attention deficits. So that's why I said that they combine the others and they live with it. So these are some of the symptoms I've talked about. So what are the challenges faced by families with the neurodivergent children? We have encountered some. Some are our friends, some are family friends, some are co-workers. Some openly discuss them. I have a friend in the US, she has 2 boys, all of them have it. The first son has started university, fortunately, but the behavior is different. She's not going to church, so I asked her, why? So, Momo Ghana for Makasa Bibribi. Initially, she wasn't opening up. He said, I went to church and somebody told me, why are my boys doing that? I can't control them. I can't. I said, you don't know, sister, my children have all been diagnosed with autism. And it has been a challenge for me. It is the church of God where I think I should get my solace. But that's where they are pushing me away. So I prefer to go to English church. So the Ghanaian church, she has stopped going there. Even if she goes to church, she goes to the Abrofo church. There, she says they don't know me so much. And there, they will not, they are accommodating. That is the key thing. They don't say anything. And so one of them said, look at the way Obana dressing. Said, dressing, why? Said, even it took me a while for that dressing to even come. And other than it made the own control, and that's what even pained her, because the person said it behind her. And somebody came and you know, today the drama we saw, the gossipers, they will follow you to even use a camera to take pictures of you. And we should they are there, we are around us. And so the major problem here is the stigma. Stigma. The stigmatization is the major issue that they face. Stigma and misconceptions about the condition. You know, we have mentioned some few of the conditions. Realize that they are different, but they look similar. So they have some of them. And then isolation. They said that you come to church and you're alone. Nobody asks you about anything. Nobody even calls you after you have gone home. That's when we have closed. You know, after all, it's her family business. It's not about us. But you see, they wish you extend some love to them. Shame for parents and children alike. Hey, keep quiet, keep quiet. So banimu. And then they come and put the child there. Sister, control no one or disturb us on them. You know, you can't control, especially the attention deficit individuals. So the only thing is that then don't come to church. Because for them, in the house, they don't sit down. When they go to school, the same thing. And so when they come to church, you don't expect them to be quiet. In fact, the children, Sabbath school teachers will come and tell you, so come and join us as teachers, because your child is disturbing us. We cannot control your child. But you wish your child behaves like any other child. It is very painful for somebody to say, hey, what is wrong with your child? And hey, are you sure everything is okay? As if you don't know. Some of them, they know. They have sent them to hospital. They have been told. So they are trying to manage, but they become ashamed. It's like, why did I give birth to such a child? The interviews we conducted, one lady has 3 children. The first 2 were fine. It's the last one that had the autism. And so she keeps comparing them. And that's why for her, she saw it very early. Her child, at the time of conducting the interview, was 12 years. For her, comparing the first 2 children, she could see there was something different about this child. So very early, at age 3, she was able to start seeing the psychologist, and it has worked. Even that is not easy for her. And those who have first children, they say that they won't give birth again. How do I know if the second one is also going to repeat? So, tinton time is okay. So they don't want to give birth again. If they want to try subsequent pregnancies, it becomes difficult for them. Unfair judgment and the stereotypes that we have. We judge quickly without even getting to know the flawed or less capable things that go on. Lack of social acceptance. If it is close to you, if it's about you, then we should accept it. But when it is on another person, it is very difficult. Lack of access to vital support and resources. At least we have, in Accra here, we have 3 places that are managing the special children. And so you can send them there. We have a lot of people who go there and they have a home for these parents who get to socialize with each other. They share each other's experiences together, and some of them realize that, oh, mine is even better. It's a healing process for them a lot. The children may require special care and therapies, and that is where the money issue comes in, financial challenges. The care of these children are expensive, very expensive. Unless you get donations, some NGOs come in. Even when they come, they give the support very small. So it's very expensive to care for them. And the frequent visits you have to make, the doctor would want to see them almost every 2 weeks. Some of them have to go weekly, depending on their level of their syndrome. And then also, we have to look for educational facilities that will accommodate them, because they cannot, but they have been termed special children. You cannot send them through the normal school. Look at this person who has the attention deficit. The teacher wants to progress, will not wait or go in the pace of that child. So they need special education. And the teachers, they do special education for these children. They also need to be able to have the individualized education plans. There's a nurse whose first daughter was diagnosed with autism in the UK. And then she received a lot of, in fact, the autistic home that we are talking, it belongs to a nurse. And her daughter is autistic child. When she had these supports, she was finally moving home. She said that no. When she came, she started looking around and said, what are you talking about? What? You said, well, autism. Which hospital? So she decided to start. And now a lot of people are benefiting from the outfits. These things become overwhelmed for the parents. I've mentioned the financial burden. It is a very huge area. When we spoke, the 12 parents that we had the interaction, all of them, financial burden. I can't even go to work. When I go to work and I leave my child with somebody taking care of, I will be thinking about this child. Oh, I'm a caterer. I used to do this, but now I can't because of the child. If you look at the Western world, they have strong support for them. In fact, the mother, like this, my friend I'm talking about, she has been asked to stop work in the US. She's staying home and she's being paid by the government of US. Yes, they pay them. If you go to the Western world, those places that are developed, they pay them. You can't do any, in fact, even in addition to you, they bring other therapists to the house. They even rent a house for them. They have social interventions that are helpful for them. But here, the obedi cry Eden. Now, when you be about a Obama, Obana or Tietiemuno, our my now on Temohano, or Tiemua, Obidia. This is my friend's daughter. When you are coming just closer to the house, you can hear her. And you go, she's sitting there looking that, making that noise, repetitive. And she's sitting there doing that, and she's not getting tired. At a point, she'll get up, drink water, and then she'll come and shriek cries. And she will, in fact, some of them, you go and she's so nice, she can even stop and recognize you, and then, hello. In fact, it's not easy. And the whole thing is that you are even given a name by that. That is the challenge. And compounding this is the stress on the family. You know, it is not easy. For her and her husband, they fight almost every day. We all fight. We all, they say, there's no home that, if you're there, me pebi mama example. Family week in your no into Mr. Remo. Na memram home mission. The thing is that, but it has become, in fact, the guy doesn't understand. When we were speaking about this, the therapist invited the husband to come. He refused to go. So the thing is, with the behavior you are seeing over there, when you are trying to convince him that go to hospital, because they even wrote a letter to invite him, because it takes the two to raise them. He says he won't go. When I send a man to a man, and so they don't even, in fact, their father is their number one enemy, and their condition become worse when he is around. He is a long distance driver, so he loads things with the articulator to go to other states. He drives from the US to Canada and other places. So for a month he hasn't come. When he's not there, the children are come. The moment he comes, they see him as an enemy. So they will, because he will come and say, hey, stop the noise you are making. It's surprising. Even he himself who gave birth to them, let alone you, who is sitting somewhere. So the stress, the unpredictable conditions, in fact, other things that they are capable of doing, you will not even think of them. They are all challenging to these people. So understanding families' challenge with these neurodivergent children is the first step in fostering empathy and support within the community, particularly the church. Understanding the condition is the first thing. You cannot support them when you do not understand what is happening to your children. So we have to express empathy. We have to express the fact that we care. We have to express the fact that we have accepted them. We have embraced them. Oh, they are saying the busian for omunina ya kese womu. Ayarefu busian. Inti no omo de yesiri sisters impanimfo bi kura omunina omo maye bia. And then she tells me that man Stella, but I'm the only child of my mother. So I don't even know where they had these stories from. Yesiri sister impanimfo bi ko omo masana omo te. I mean, you know how the Ghanaian community, we can talk. And this is not helping. So we have to play a vital role in ensuring that the challenges that these children and their families face, we can be the shoulder that they can cry on, can be the shoulder that they can lean on. We can be the first point of counseling for them. Somebody will ask, by Valley View, Hakra, you will be waha. The Elaine and Oliver, Elaine, and then they suggested that we should get a family so that they could share their experience. But here it's not simple like that. If rich and hey, sister, say na they buy hey, let me know. And I know we are meant here. Share. Oh, say sister now or ba or shata adi say or say no. Say ne ba ne yarefo. It's enough. That alone is enough. So people are not able to open up to even share their experiences and their worry. It is important that we can play a role. In fact, as a church, like the Matthew 25:40, the king's answer and saying, as much as you did to these least ones, you did it for me. And so let us reach out to them. We might have some knowledge about what is going on. When we see those things, it's better to approach the person. Pray over it first. Some people wouldn't even like it when you go closer to ask them, I saw your child and this and that. Who told you? There's nothing wrong with her. What will you do? Some people may also behave and close their, the relationships so that you cannot even get closer. So we know those ones are there. But like the Jesus' message, we have to continue to support them, get closer to them, let them get closer to us. Then they can trust us when they share things with us. Creating a welcoming environment by extending a warm embrace to all members of the congregation, regardless of who they are. Let's forget about if somebody is sick. Sometimes the church is so segregated that we only deal with our friends. When we come to church, we had a family that was coming here. They stopped coming because when we close, nobody gets close to them. They come and it's like when we close, everyone for himself, God for us all. So we see a new person. Oh, you're welcome. Where are you from? Where are you staying? And blah, blah, blah. And then we are able to. So let's open. It is also a space where neurodivergent individuals and their families feel valued, respected, and free to participate fully in the church community. We will not discriminate against them. We will not have any negative things that will make them go away, but we will only embrace and welcome them and make them feel happy. We have to also understand the characteristics of the neurodivergence so that we can create the supportive environment. Do you know why the 4-year-old boy or girl in the Sabbath school class wears headphones or flap or what have you? Do you get irritated when the 14-year-old girl only stares at you when you speak to her? The person cannot speak. I'm talking to you. I'm talking to you. And then the next thing is that girl does not respect, does not want to. So these are some of the things. You go first, second, number 3. I won't go there again. In fact, I don't want to go to that church again. I don't want to go to the children's Sabbath school again. I want to sit by you in the church, the big church. So these are some of the things we have to know. When we know, we can help. I want to pause here, open the floor for discussions, questions, and any other contribution. We are looking at how the church can reach out to people whose children have these conditions. We might not know them, but you may have an idea, since we have done some open discussions on how they are and how they behave, so that we can share how we can reach out to them and make the church a very safe and welcoming place for them, where they want to run to because there is safety. So I pause here and entertain contributions, questions, and others, so that we share the practical steps together. All right, thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Ma, for your presentation. I will speak on the autism. From the little psychology that we were taught in class, I'll relate it to B.F. Skinner. It's thought of learning. That is the combining or adding the unconscious stimulus to the conscious or the conditioned stimulus to apply to get a conditioned stimulus. So as the church, I think what we can do is that we should have a stimulus, that is a conditional stimulus. For instance, people, those children, they will make noise in the church. We can have something there, biscuit or something. If they apply to do those things, we attach the conditional stimulus to it to get a conditional response of whereby anytime they may see this thing, they will try to realize that, oh no, I'm coming to get this thing, so let me stop doing this thing. Then they will, and then we have reinforcement and associative learning. We have reinforcement. So when we do the reinforcement relating it to the conditional stimulus, I think it will help the child to build up. And as a church, we know this is a psychological problem. I will never take it as a sickness to tell that this is a sickness. No, I would never take it as a sickness. It's a psychological issue. And psychological issue doesn't normally base as a sickness. Sometimes you will be saying that, oh, this abnormal person is a sick person. No, an abnormal person is not a sick person. This is not a sick person which we should go and stigmatize that you have this situation, so let me get out of you. I shouldn't get close to you. No, we shouldn't do that. That's what I want to tell us.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Yes, other individuals who want to, yeah. Elder son. So he was talking about using professional approach in managing them. So he talked about learning, conditioning, learning, and all of that.
I just want to find out you said that our first child is always vulnerable. I know of a family now, their first or their only child has this some condition like this. And because of that, the family has said that they will bring forth again. So in a way, how do we even convince these people that, okay, if this one is like this, maybe the second or third one will be better? How can we convince such a family to go ahead and then continue maybe expanding their family?
Mrs. Ejenim, wait me a boy. Yes, who are back on? Also, Mubium, as I'm saying. And to better know what convincing I'm now, then I'll convince you one man over back on. Dinah, I don't know Timmy way.
The catcher is a pie. That's a way to say, second one, a bit to me a bassa and massa, and pine a meadum, second one, non tessa. The other I am.
And Yamre said the Okano, ye ba, obi obey ye ba or ye, and the firstborn or your nurse, nuclear your doctor. It is not like they are not educated. A doctor and a medical doctor and a nurse, their first child, autistic child. This boy had grown, so I was like, hey, uba uninia no nyose ma misro, but nyamiadum, wawo. The only, in fact, we had to go through counseling. It's not easy. You cannot just, she just summarized it, but it's not like she just said it one day, Bompayo. It was a continuous reminder, calling her on phone, speaking with her, praying with her, encouraging her. But when she comes to visit, she said, Mami, you know, to know that people are there to support you. You are not alone. Especially today, you have to, everything is on you. You don't have help. How do you give birth? And you are not sure, like you said, the next one. So it needs counseling, reassurance, and then prayers. We cannot throw prayer away as a church community. But the key thing is about reassuring the person that God is the one who gives. And so you pray to God. It doesn't mean this one. That's why we read the scriptures earlier to indicate that we are wonderfully and fearfully made. In fact, some of them are so gifted and talented that you wish to see them display. Those who are into football, those who are into basketball and others, they are very gifted if they are able to be seen early and get the right management, then they are able to perform. So it's a matter of going through counseling, reassuring them, and then praying with them. You don't just leave them to pray alone. For you to recognize that somebody is praying for you is a big healing. And I'm sure they may make a decision. It's not easy anyway. Yes, Mr. Inti, and then after that, Abby. Abby.
Well, since you say there's no known cause, sometimes it's difficult to handle this. There was a bit interested in the genetic aspect, whether it's the male and female that come together that present that, or kind of hereditary from maybe one side. Just like we're talking about, there's a family in Kumasi, Seventh-day Adventist family, live close to where my parents used to live in Kumasi. There's, I think, 5 boys, all of them are like. But when you see them, they don't have any facial kind of thing, nothing. But the way they dress, behave, talk, and I don't know, at some point, in fact, when I first got to know them, I was in university, I got home. The guy who was behaving strangely, and I was inquiring why, and my parents were explaining it. It's like they said, among the 5, he is rather the better, the better one among them. They anyway, you could see there's always problem with that. But what others were saying, or my mother even said that the woman was a trained teacher, a special children. That was where she worked, and they were
Special children.
They were trying to even say that it's because he was working, that's why he gave birth to all such children. But in fact, dealing with them is difficult. The only thing, they're very, very active in church. I don't want to mention the church in Kumasi and those days where there's crusade. They are very, very active. Sometimes they climb even the pulpit, and like they want to do everything. And sometimes the education, because the way they behave is very difficult to should I say, tolerate them in church. But it's like, well, we need to maybe give more education, but for Seventh-day Adventist Church, not just for our special children, the way we even take care of our own children as a church, I've always had issue with it. We even planning for our children is difficult for us. And it's like we expect that sometimes the things they used to learn do not even come in. But maybe it's advised that we should find a way to concentrate there and then try to see them as future of the church and provide for them, not only those who have those special needs.
Okay, thank you. I'm glad that we are having this topic. It's a very sensitive area, especially for some of us who have come across some of our friends and even our own relatives with this challenge. One thing, I don't know if this study also touched on, is diet. Because I quite remember I came across a friend's child some time back. The son stays with the grandmom. And initially, when I had an encounter with the child, there is no eye connection, very, like, you know how children are, they're very warming, at least most of them anyway, when you start interacting with them and all that. But his was different. This hyperactivity and all that. And then I started inquiring from the grandmom. And the favorite food of the child was porridge. So he doesn't really like eating let me see, the home, the salt. And he eats more of cocoa. And I probe further to find out like what has she been given to the son, because the daughter is working. And she was like, oh, I am the ideal milk ni a citre ni nedrianim cry. And this is a child that all like from the conversation I was having with the grandmom, like Omar to pay free work class and all that, say like he's too hyperactive, he doesn't sit down, he's always fidgeting, moving about and all that. And I was like, is it possible some bit me jai sugar no? Modify cocoa no, maybe you can use alternative sweetness like fruits and things. And you see, this child is staying with the grandmom. Not that the grandmom can't take care of him, but then sometimes you know, the grandmom is also doing her job, you know, or nana so. Inti grandmom na kasanwa bre. And the parents are also busy. So with such a child, no, even if genetically they had this challenge, the diet also I see as worsening the situation, because cocoa no di and cocoa no, so the contents of the cocoa. I know a family friend who is also a nurse who gave birth to a child that she was fortunate enough. She had a friend who was a doctor abroad who actually was into this natural health remedies and things like, and he was able to advise her to put the child on nuts, seeds, like inculcate it in his diet, and it has improved the child's condition greatly. So I don't know if we have researches that also help, because these drinks, snacks that we are talking about, maybe there are alternative snacks and things that we can actually give to these children to actually improve their conditioner. It's not even for only those kids, but even our own, the so-called ones, they seem okay. Because this hyperactivity, I believe our diet also plays a role. And also, I'm glad this sensitization it's being encouraged in our churches, because even in the way we build our churches, it will be difficult for a disabled mother with a son or a child who's in wheelchair to come to certain churches, because even when we are constructing our buildings, we don't really make provisions for, you know, the challenged in our community. So I hope that this can, you know, Mpanimfoɔ can also be conscientized when it comes to some of these things, even in our schools. In our schools, it's not disabled friendly, yeah. So if possible, and we can look at that, it would really help. It would really, really help. Thank you very much.
Thank you too. In fact, disability, since that's maybe another point. Yeah.
Okay, talking about diet and autism and these hyperactivity and things that have to be with, that has to do with the brains and mind. Yes, there are certain foods that are good for the development of the brains at different stages. And even when the mother is pregnant. And that is why we advise that 3 months before conception, we do not do it here anyway in our setting. You know that, you see that for us, we only go in to enjoy, and then when we are aware, we have been locked inside. So there are children around. So
We are talking about preconception. Is it breaking it down?
don't worry. Me break that on this. I don't have issues. I have akukoduro papa. But the only thing is that it is not about, you see, sir, in our setting, when we are going in for sex, when we are meeting with our husbands and wives, we do not plan that at this time, maybe within this 5 months, I want to get pregnant. We don't say that. It's like we sex as a pleasure. The man be dead, and you see, they locked. That is why a man can say to the wife, why did you become pregnant? You see? So in our settings like that, otherwise, 3 months before conception, we need to change our diet. Because 3 months to conception, the foods we eat even have effects on these things and the children and whatever we eat afterwards. So, so you see that when we have given birth to them too, we should, and we realize these things. It's also good that we see nutritionists and dietitians so that we put these ones in a sort of diet. It is not any hudious diet. Sometimes it is just reducing pepper, sugar, salt. Sometimes it is removing, depending on how hyperactive they are. You can even remove pepper from their diet and replace it with other things. But depending on its severity, there is a general dieting tool for them, and that is increasing the amount of vegetables and fruits they eat, with mixing it with some wheat and all those ones which are good for the brains. Yeah.
Thank you very much. So the diet, the food we eat in our homes too, even before we get pregnant, we need to take care of it, because even though the cause is not known, we have seen that there can be intrauterine factors and there can be environmental factors. We saw that environmental factors can also play a major role. And like she said, even if we are looking for children, we don't pay attention to those things. We are just concentrating on only the action. That is what should give us the pregnancy. But we need to also look at the environmental issues that can affect the child. Yes, any other contribution or any other questions or clarification? Yeah.
You see, that's why we have department in every church. We have the health department. I may say that if we are seeing such people in the church, the health department, every Sabbath, they should take upon themselves, have a room for them, those people, sit them down, counsel them every blessed Sabbath, and communicate with the parent every blessed day to help them. Because some people don't have the money to go for a psychiatric person to support them. But in this case, the church is there to support, which we have educated people. So the church should try to implement all those things. And let's understand that it is psychologically we have 3 questions. We have the freedom and then determinism, and we have the nature and then the nurture. this issue becomes a combination of the nature and the nurture, which is the environment and then the natural being that the person came out with. Settling these issues, we all know that we were made out of the dust. And this plant we see, they are all made out of the dust. So to make sure that some part of the body to stand firm, we need to replace it with what the Lord has done. These are the trees. So those in that field, they should try to research on these normal trees. They has a way of curing such an issue within us. Because we don't know much of the things, because it was said that much of our...
Call a deacon, they will send a deacon to come and call you, to come and sit by your child. You would not even have a break for that child. So, and this, you see, in our various churches, at least here it is an institutional church. So maybe we may start practicing that. But if you go to our various churches, how many health personnel are there? We appoint people as health ministry without them knowing anything about health. Health ministry without them knowing anything about health. You see, so it becomes so difficult. And this is something about the brain. You see, it is so difficult. Don't you get shocked when you go to these village churches and local sometimes? You see the children's Sabbath school teachers holding canes and sticks as if, you see, beating them. You see, so it is not easy, but at least it can be doable. But the prime thing to me, I believe, is the change of our attitudes. The church really needs attitudinal change. If we do not change our attitudes on certain things and our behaviors, certain behaviors, it will be so difficult for people to even come close and confide in us. Maybe they have issues, but who to trust? You see, it becomes so difficult. So all of us, we need attitudinal and behavioral changes so that we can accommodate. The wise are not more human than we are, but they are able to accommodate and get people to even baptize out of these situations. But for us, we keep drawing people away from God.
In fact, in one church I visited, one of them was a deaconess. She was a deaconess and collecting the money during the offering. She even bypasses everybody. And then they will call her, and they call her deaconess, and the way she's happy. But I was just looking, when we came, I told my mother, hey, into we Ghana for you, bet me accommodate we. Or buy a reference or mediti. Yeah, sorry, lesson. And when they see her deaconess and she's happy, even when she's calling, she will bypass everybody and go here. And then they will bring her, okay, then she comes back. But they tolerated her throughout the service. So my mother was like, did you observe? I said, oh, sure. I could see that there's something. She said, yes, so, but in fact, she has improved since the time she joined the church. And they call her deaconess. And she's happy to hear the name deaconess. She likes it. And when she sees you, she'll be looking at your face for you to call her deaconess. And she got the subsequent Sabbaths, I observed her, she was doing better. She will go and then they will, hey, deaconess, you haven't collected yet? Oh, okay. Then she will come and, would we do that? When you go to their mosque, they work there. This, my friend that I'm saying, she has two of them. The children are working in the mall. It's part of the therapy. They go on weekends to work in the mall. They have certain works they've left for them. They don't leave it for any other. Even if they are taking, they have policies that guide these things. They have percentage. You have to leave for such people to work. And so you leave it. When you go, those who arrange small flowers and things at the mall, you meet them. At the entrance, you meet them. And they are repeating. That's why I said that when you train them, the repetitive behavior, they train them for better. So you see them arranging the flower almost every minute. But that flower they are arranging is, if you come this time, you may think that's the time they have started arranging. Because I have seen them earlier. I know they have been there for but they do it, and the time is up, they close and go home. So it's part of the therapy. But here, and as she mentioned, when we were giving birth to these small boys and girls, in fact, severally children's school, they came, and madam, and I told them that my children, if they see me, they will even put up more show. So let me remain here. But they even come to make announcement in the main church. And those of you mothers who sit here, you have left your children with us. Come and be part of caring for them. Why are you the children's Sabbath school teachers? And it has become like that. Look at our institutional here. Most of the Sabbath school teachers, their children are there. That's why they also get more attached there. So it's a good suggestion, being able to help them and separate them, give them some form of, even if it is 30 minutes, 45, it will still help. Yes, any other person? Yeah, Mr. D.
I was trying to read something on still causes and prevention. I think National Institute of Environmental Health Sciences, they were trying to look more into air pollution, chemicals, and those things that may contribute. And maybe some few advice that I picked from them may help. Like when they are saying when you are pregnant, you must be careful about cravings, things that we eat. It's very important, and sometimes first pregnancy, early pregnancy, sometimes a lot of things that you tend to eat that may contain the lead that we talked about. So just like Madame said, even fruits and vegetables, sometimes some people by nature don't like fruits, but once you get pregnant, you should introduce more into your diet. It will help. So 2 things that they talked about: insecticides. Drew my attention to those mosquito sprays that we use. I've always had issue with the advert that say when you use it 45 minutes you can sleep in it.
Some even say once you are inside the room you can sleep and spray it.
There are times I spray in the morning, Saturday, come to church, go after 6:30, you still smell it. Some of them. So I was still wondering why they keep on saying after 45 minutes. Those things stay there, and the coils that they use. And from the argument they were making is the time of pregnancy that some of these genetic changes happen. So we need to be careful. And Dr. Sam J, is a gynecologist, or mentioned mothballs, they were camphor. They said when a woman is pregnant, as much as possible, don't keep that kind of thing anywhere in the room. They are good for those insecticides and those things, but he says it affects pregnancy a lot in many different ways. So we need to be careful those things when we use them at early pregnancy kind of things. They are good.
It causes jaundice.
Okay, so and a lot of things there. So this is just a quick advice from what I got.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for the opportunity. Since the discussion, I've realized that there is this statement that has popped up severally, especially maybe you are a parent and the children's ministries department, the teachers will come and call you to come and take care of their children. I think it is also one area that the church we need to also look at. As a mother with even a single child in the home, sometimes it's very difficult for you to take care of their children and look at the number of parents here and their children. Sometimes it's very difficult. And because we say that it's their duty, even for us to show appreciation is very difficult. How often do you show appreciation? Maybe at the end of the year, you are a parent, you buy something to go and give it to the teachers there. We do not, because it's their duty. I believe that we can do better in that aspect. I'm talking about the children with this autism. I encountered one, I think the year 2017 to 18 thereabout, and we went to do evangelism, and there's this guy who came about the age of maybe 20-something years, and he was just assisting us with the chairs and everything. And after the program, I followed him to his house, and I met his parents. And unfortunately, this child is having this condition that I'm talking about. And in addition, he was also having a convulsion.
Epilepsy.
Yes.
Yeah, we talked about it.
Oh, okay.
Some of them
And
also get
his condition was
convulsed.
Yes. And there was one time I took this guy to the church, and all of a sudden, this thing came. And that was my first time of witnessing, so I was afraid until someone came to lose their dress and everything. You know, we have to find a way of looking at what they can do better and how you can use them to our benefit. When you go to church, see the way he behaves, little shouting as we have talked about. But when he decided to fellowship with us, his children, his families, the siblings, all joined. And I think we can use that as an opportunity also to get. We can establish a place, Adventist, if you are going to be serious with this thing. We can even get a center where you have specialists. We can start here in this institution. You have a specialist place, a center, we have specialists. There are people who have this condition, they can come and see. It can be used as an avenue even to draw people even to the church. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you. This is a very good suggestion. For Adventist professionals can even put it up together and render services for free. It can even be Saturdays or just once a week where it's a specialist care. So they just bring them and they are giving care of. I think it's a very good suggestion.
Idea, because I don't know if you have a deaf and dumb church.
Yes, deaf and dumb. It's at Adam Robert, and and Mampong. Adam Robert. In fact, we used to have some of our nursing students who could do the sign language. They didn't learn it from here. They came with the skills already. And so they were helping. In fact, they were bringing them here to church. Comfort, when Comfort was here, she helped to organize the place. But since she left, they have been left on their own. They used to, especially during corporate worship, they were joining us.
You realize that those people, the moment they realize, oh, we have a church here and it is about us, they call even those who are not Adventists and they join. So what you are saying is, I think the elders will put it in their big books.
Yeah, Elder Bibra.
Thank you so much. I'm reading something. The first line there. Second on the first line, creating a supportive environment. You made reference to a school teacher, umbrella, who comes to tell you, come and sit in. I realized that that person who came to approach you on that is not the right person. He's not a teacher for that person. God's so good as an institutional church. We have a department that is teaching preschool. It's not possible for us to organize a workshop where we bring those people to take our teachers who are handling that level in a workshop to prepare them to teach well to handle our children well, be able to observe the characteristics that they put up, so they can make recommendation to the church board.
Very, very good suggestion, because the School of Education has a whole program. The preschool, they have the preschool program. They even have the adolescent, is it?
Yeah, adolescent.
Yeah, too. Okay, so we can take advantage of such and then get them to prepare as children's Sabbath school teachers. Those we will select every year. They will be taken through these things, and they can even identify children who have these behavior changes, so they can draw parents' attention. Some of them, the parents don't get to know. The parents will never know until somebody points it to them. And I mentioned that once it's your child, I'm sure you even have the eye, but you refuse to see. You don't want to see that it is your child. It's very difficult to be told your child has this disorder. So you have the eye, you see that your child is abnormally hyperactive, but you don't want to see it. So somebody who will say that it seems your child is overworking the self. Is there anything or like that? So this is a very good suggestion. Yeah, who else has something to add? So we're saying that there are steps for the church, practical steps for the church. Number one, educating the congregation by hosting awareness events or workshops that shed light on neurodivergence. And so that is what we have just spoken. Its various conditions and the unique challenges these families face can enlighten church members. Yes, Elder.
We have spirit churches on campus. Is there going to be a day when we are all going to worship in this auditorium? I don't know.
Elder, Pastor Lamy. Pastor Lamy. Your attention is needed.
Is it going to happen that one day the whole church on campus will worship here?
With God, all things are possible.
Praise the Lord. Now, I'm making reference to where either the finance people sit to collect their monies or count their monies. I went to a church in Nigeria. From that point to the end there, the width here is glass. And so they don't lose anything. I'm making a reference so that if there's going to be a time that we are all going to worship together, then let us put this into consideration and do something that will help all of us.
Thank you. And I think when you go to the back of the auditorium here, there are halls over there that are situated and they are allocated for that. So whilst the construction is going on for the children, they to be fitted with air conditions and make sure the place is conducive.
But I think they can't see here.
No, they can't see here, but they will have their service in the same block. So we can have them available. And the principle that you are applying is different from what you are talking about. But we all come to this auditorium.
Right.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
What Elder suggested, that's what they do elsewhere. Yeah, when you travel, you have the worship together, the children and adults. So if you see the packages that come, you may see the children's story will be there. They want the preacher to give the children's story before. In fact, your child sits by you the mother and the father, like having my 4 children. My husband is at the extreme end. I'm here, and the 4 of them are in our middle. That is how they arrange it. And so you are able to control your children whilst you are there and everything. It is only the Sabbath school period that they go for their own. And that is the practice elsewhere. It is our setting here that in Kolako or Masori. And I think that we can still have the service together. So do you know when we are having corporate worship and we invite the children to come, they don't want to come. My daughter told me that you keep too long. Meanwhile, so I'm also call. And then my next thing is, but I've also seen you not closing early. But ours is not boring. Yours is boring. But she repeated it. She asked me that I should tell the people that during corporate work, you shouldn't disturb them. They want to go to their church. You bring us here and everything you do is boring. And it is true. It's like we don't involve them. Do you know that sermons and everything are all channeled to us adults? And so they just sit there and follow us. So maybe we can be creative in our worship. We can also introduce some things that, but another person also told me that when they go to their church, it gives them the opportunity to also learn, to take up, because they have their church secretary, they have their treasurers, they have their, all that we have, they have their elders. So they are also learning to be a miniature of the church, so they take up the responsibility in the near future whilst they grow. So it has its own pros and cons, but the key thing is that we want to educate our congregation to appreciate that we have children like that. So when you see a behavior that is not familiar, don't just conclude on things, but you can observe. When you observe the person for a while, you can ask questions. But it's also another thing. When you ask questions, pass them. Hey, mommy, we should do pass them more. Your parents are going to baby say, "Dear Nana, me banning you." And so these are some of the letters. It is true, elder. Sometimes you don't mean any harm, but because you are a professional, unless you introduce yourself, for that one I've observed that it works. Oh, happy Sabbath, good afternoon, I'm a nurse, but I observed something, so that one they are comfortable. But you cannot just go straight and say, hey, if I won't be concern you pass them. Oh, me ban no, and then Uncle Sano, one said down na papa. I could be at the Madam Ade. Me banade they no different. And so we need to, and then we have to sensitize members on how to even approach a family that we might think has an issue. The approach. Some people don't like it. So if it is within your power and you can even visit them at home, it will be better. Support, yes. So that it's not just because you saw me in church and my child is misbehaving. That's what you, in fact, you want to conclude that my child was misbehaving. Meanwhile, you meant good. So you can even look for each other and support. Intentional about creating an inclusive church home for neurodivergent families. When we don't see them in church 1 or 2, 3 times, we have to look for them. How many times have we, except close friends, who ask you, hey, I never am sorry you. But we don't have people. Elder, we have to look out for people. For about 1 month, 2 months, the person has not been here. Hey, so what is, do you know the family that usually sits at this place? Oh yes, it seems it's been a while. Then it means that then we will find out. So with this, we may land on to know that, the person might have traveled, there's something wrong, the child is sick, or the mother is sick or something, they've gone on transfer, they were here. So we get to know. It's very, very important. Then specialized resource play a crucial role in providing support. We have a lot, in some of the churches, we have the resource persons there, but we don't even tap them. We have psychologists, clinical psychologists who have been trained within our churches. We don't use them. They are rather outsourced by other churches. In fact, like Jesus Christ, when you come, the carpenter's son. Who is this carpenter's son? They don't, in fact, they want to go for a higher rank person somewhere. And then the resources are with us. So let us tap it, because this is a specialized area. It's not any other area. You need psychologists to be able to, and we are fortunate to be in an institutional, it's an institutional church. We have psychologists who are here, we have sociologists are here, and all of that. We have psychiatric nurses, we have all these groups of people we can tap. And I must also congratulate the church on that. For some time now, our programs we do, we invite them. In fact, we are able to, especially during the various weeks. So during the Drug Awareness Month, during this period, we invite specialists to come and speak to us. So I think that, but the church at large, do we have that opportunity? Like you go to my village church. Last 2022, I was in my hometown. I was in church when a certain gentleman stood up and was giving health education. In fact, at a point when we closed, I went and I asked the elders, who is that person who was giving? Some of the information were not correct. They were not. So the elders, like Madam said, he was the health director. You know, we usually will select somebody who is vocal, who is active, who has read health and temperance books, who could quote Ellen White, Adventist Home. He says that don't drink water when you are eating. That is what, and that's where the person will tell you that they were presenting on water, sunshine, all of that, you see. But you can say that go and see the typical dining table of a white. Juice is there. Is juice not water? It's fluid. Mama meto. A topper dokono and cran dokono and meko shishi. Don't drink water. So you see the way we even presented, the way we, in fact, I was thinking through when going through this, I said that if the church is not very quick to go for a professional to do presentations on these things, it will be something else. It will be something else in the churches. So these are some of the things. Any other contribution? Any other contribution? So in conclusion, we are saying that supporting the neurodivergent children and their families within the church community is not only a compassionate endeavor with far-reaching societal implications, but also has eternal significance. In fact, when churches commit to creating inclusive environment, fostering acceptance, and providing tailored support, they contribute to a more equitable, empathetic society and represent Jesus to these families and the community. By valuing and accommodating neurodivergent individuals, churches enrich their communities and set an example for others to follow. May the Lord bless us, all of us, so that we can be a very good example to other community of faith, so that we can reach out to families. And if we have families like that in our churches, they will also open up and confide in us. God bless us all.
I believe we can do better. Thank you very much, ma'am. We appreciate the insights. And what I'm taking home is the being aware and how you can approach them, then how you show consent to these people. We thank you very much. And you don't have the control when it happens that way. We need to learn. And I know you have taken something out of this to make sure you can apply. General Conference look at it and they created a department for it. Special needs is under the youth ministry. So it's an area we need to, you don't just put somebody there. You need to put a specialist there. Because if you just put somebody there who can handle this, it will not yield any fruit. And honestly, these days we don't do our church leadership that we want specialists to handle issues. Because there are legal issues backing them. Because the law backs these people. So if the person is not a specialist, you can't just put anybody there. So we are pleading that as we all study, we look at these areas also to have people who have studied in that area to help. so that we can have it done. I just checked the watch. It's 6 p.m., but the sun is still here. So we can see we have a long day today. God bless you, all, Mom. God bless you for this insight. And I believe you also, if you learned something to take home, we will rise and